robots are being used in so many different ways today. ZDNet's Greg Nichols, you write a lot for us, Greg, on robots, and today we're talking about natural disasters and how robots can assist humans when it comes to things like wildfires and hurricanes and earthquakes. We hear about it so much, unfortunately, in the news, Greg. So how are robots playing a role here?
Yeah, thanks, Karen. And like you said, robots are starting to see a lot of use in the direct aftermath of natural disasters, which, just like you said, we're hearing so much about. And that's because robots can do things people can't. They can weave beneath rubble and spend time in environments that would just literally fry a human in some cases. One of the most important functions a robot can perform in a disaster scenario is beaming that vital sensor data to first responders by performing thermal and LiDAR scans or beaming back HD video of a disaster area. So as a result of all those capabilities, some of the most unique robotics development that's currently happening is actually happening in this space of disaster response. And we're seeing some really, really cool machines. So this week I got a chance to look into some of those.
Yeah, and when it comes to, Greg, some of the specific robots, tell us about some of them that you found out about and really what your favorite is, because I'm sure there's some really cool stuff out there.
Yeah, sure. There are so many. There really is a lot of development in this space. So in Japan, bots are helping decommission the Fukushima power plant. And in particular, there's a submersible robot that's about the size of a loaf of bread that it went into the flooded plant in 2017, and it sent back the first images of melted fuel from one of those compromised reactors. And that's something that humans and actually previous robots really just had not been able to do before. Robots are also being used to fight fires. We saw that most recently with the Notre Dame fire. That was a robot named Colossus, and it's a treaded autonomous vehicle that can actually carry a fire hose. And it helped lower temperatures in the main nave area of the cathedral, and really is responsible for helping to save the cathedral in a big way, or big portions of it at least. In 2018, another submersible robot helped assist in the rescue of the trapped Thai soccer team. And then there's major companies like Honda that are developing these really fast and nimble humanoids that are the size of humans and can manipulate environments just like a human would, environments built for humans, but they can go where human responders simply can't. And these robots really do come in all shapes and sizes. So there's currently a grant program through DARPA, which our readers know is the military's kind of mad scientist funding wing. And the program is commissioning the next generation of disaster response robots, which are each about the size of a pencil eraser, really, really small robots. They're called short-range independent micro-robotic platforms, or SHRIMP for short. And the idea is that several of these can work together in a kind of swarm, and they're small enough to scurry down drain pipes or even go through things like garden hoses to capture vital information from the scene. One of my favorite robots comes out of the Robotics Institute at Carnegie Mellon University, which is a huge robotics powerhouse. It's called SnakeBot, and it was named the Ground Rescue Robot of the Year last year. And as the name implies, it's actually a robotic snake. It has these modular segments that connect to one another and enable the robot to sort of like slither and worm around and flip itself over. And that robot was actually deployed to Mexico City to help sift through the rubble following the major earthquake they had a couple of years ago there. And then, of course, drones. Drones are commonly used these days in disaster scenarios. DJI's Mavic Pro in particular flew hundreds of flights after the Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma, for example. So there's really just a huge breadth of robots being used. And those are just some of the bots currently on the front lines of natural disasters.
Yeah, it's fascinating, really, Greg, even to think about just something the size, as you said, of a pencil eraser that can do such phenomenal work. So when it comes to these disaster sites, though, Greg, often very dangerous situations. So what are some of the challenges that go along with using robots in these particular situations?
Well, yeah, getting robots to the scene is actually probably the trickiest part of all of it. You can imagine in a lot of disaster scenarios, debris can make ground transportation virtually impossible. Thick smoke can impede that approach from air, making it very difficult. There is a company out of Berkeley Skydeck, which is a hardware accelerator that's doing some really, really cool projects, or putting out some cool projects, I should say. And they have a solution which is to drop the robots from drones or helicopters. Now, of course, most hardware is not going to survive that fall. The company is called Squishy Robotics, which maybe gives you a clue about their strategy there. And they actually make this robot that's encased in a compliant matrix. It's like a springy ball that absorbs the impact. So the robot itself has all these sensors and cameras to give a snapshot of conditions on the ground. And that solves this big problem. In order to measure air quality right now during fires or chemical spills, first responders have to suit up in these special suits, and they have to go into the hot zone to get accurate readings. Those suits are expensive. They're not always available on the site. They're cumbersome, and the process of putting them on and then the decontamination process afterwards when you're taking them off just takes a lot of vital time. So this is a job that's perfectly suited to robots, and if you can just plunk a robot down from the sky, you can get in there very quickly and assess the situation on the ground.
Yeah, most definitely. And you mentioned a couple of times here, Greg, first responders, obviously robots would be used in conjunction with these guys and gals. So are first responders, are they adopting the idea of using robots?
Yeah, and the answer is yes, they definitely are, although it's pretty piecemeal at this stage. Different agencies, different departments sort of have their own procurement policies and their own appetites for this kind of technology. So Squishy Robots, rather Squishy Robotics, that company with that compliant robot you can drop, they've signed a collaboration with the Los Angeles County Fire Department, as well as the Houston Fire Department, which I believe are the numbers 1 and 2 largest fire departments in the country. So that's definitely a positive sign that this technology really is being adopted. And then many agencies, many police forces have definitely started using drones, and those drones are being used in disaster response as well. So I think we're going to see a lot more of it, and particularly as we get a lot more publicity around these robots, such as was the case with the Notre Dame fire, with Colossus, I think agencies are going to be more and more open to them.
Yeah, most certainly. Well, it really does seem like every day we're hearing of new uses for robots. So it'll be interesting to see where this all goes. Greg, we appreciate your help on this story. Very interesting one. And for Greg's full article, make sure you check out ZDNet.